Today is Wednesday, May the 20th. And I guess we've been in this COVID situation for about 2 or 3 months, seems like. The real reality is, what do we really understand about what was going on prior to COVID about public education? And so, when I'm looking at what my experience was over the last 20 or 30 years, I say that, we really don't know enough. And when I've been out there participating in the process, and, I think I was blessed to be able to do that. I was blessed to be able to go out and understand what was going on because I needed to support my sons through this education process. And, and really, they got a decent education. It wasn't the best, but it was decent. I mean, they can survive with the basic level skills that they acquired, just like myself. I think I could have been so much further ahead, but then going through Sacramento City Unified School District, the district was, let's see, unwilling to engage in ensuring that access and equity happens for all children. That's what I'll say. Because over time, I don't think a lot of parents who look like me actually understand the requirement to be engaged in the process, to understand what the process actually looks like. And, it starts in Head Start or early Head Start. And that is a public resource aren't needy, and we can talk about programs for people in poverty, and we can ensure that citizens that actually, some of us actually are participating in the oversight process, and that's not happening, not locally anyway. Locally, if you meet a few people and they happen to be engaged in the process, and it's like-minded people are around like-minded people, and it's easy to be in the process when you have kids in the public education system, because it's something you have to do all the time. It's a place that they have to go, and it's a place that you should be. But a lot of parents don't understand that they really have to be there. There are so many children who are below basic and far, far below basic. And what do I mean by below basic? I mean that they're not a grade level, but that happened a long time ago, meaning that you could continue to be promoted in the public school system and be in the 12th grade and still be reading at the 5th grade level. How is that? I mean, let's not get confused. What have we really done to the public education system when it comes to all servicing all children? Because, a lot of people like to make the excuse that education wasn't meant for all children, or it's a program that, just kind of like grew beyond its capacity in servicing all children. So in larger cities, it's difficult. Each child generates a certain weighted formula. And then if you're in poverty, you put a little bit more money to that. And if you're neglected or delinquent, you put a little bit more federal money to that. Federal money comes in handy when when um, when you're trying to service that needy population. That's when it comes in handy. But if you look at a program and you see no foundational support, I think the deal is, I was waiting for that town hall meeting that the Black Caucus was having the other day, and then I have questions. I would like to know, why is it that at the congressional level, why we are not looking at the end data and trying to find out what's happening locally for our people? Because if you have a Black caucus, that's the umbrella that you can do it under. You can't do it under, just being elected as a Black representative in your state. But if you participate in the caucus, I'm sure that that was established to look at the end data across America to understand how the resources are being allocated. Let's get real here. Mhm. I kind of get frustrated sometimes, simply because I understand that so many people are paying taxes and so many people are not paying taxes. Worked at IRS for I think a hot minute. It was right after my divorce, and things just didn't work out that I could continue to work there. But they had a little red book, or a book for businesses, that taught people how to write off all those tax deductions that they could possibly write off, and still. And then, as I was listening to somebody talk the other day, they were saying that, oh, her name is Linda Richardson. She's wonderful. But she says that you can pay your child infant money up to $12,000 a year and not have, and have that as a write-off. Just imagine the amount of money that you could write off. She said, they might be modeling infant formula. Hell, she said there was ways to write it, and I believe there are ways to write it, and I believe that people have perfected that ways to write it. Nowadays you don't know what to do. I took my car to the shop today, and this Hispanic guy, his son is in the 11th grade, and he hasn't heard anything from the district yet, and he's not gonna hear nothing. I mean, I'm not kidding. I mean, COVID came out of nowhere, but guess what it exposed? COVID came out and exposed the dysfunctional behaviors of state, county, and federal and city programs when it comes to ensuring access for all people. I mean, some people were just out there, but then they acted like those people, really didn't want anything better for themselves. They were just living on the street because, that's a choice that they made. And so they were going to find them, impose penalties because they didn't have a place to be. But look, I mean, I would be out there in the element and being forced to live out in the element, especially, we already know what happens in the element. It's dangerous out there. You could freeze to death or you could burn up. Here in Las Vegas, I mean, the temperature is like 115 degrees, and I don't even know what it's going to look like this summer, simply because there is, COVID and social distancing and what that looks like. And will public schools ever even come back? Well, what will we look at when we're looking at brick and mortar schools? And my questions to the powers that be, of course, because they don't answer your question if you write it in the and you send it to them in the email. They don't respond, and if you file a complaint, they act like and you, excuse me, but who did you think you were? I mean, who cares that they asked you to sign a document that you're assuring that they were doing what they were supposed to do with the money, when you could see that they weren't, and then you could engage other parents to talk about what needed to happen with the money. I mean, it's a team kind of thing, but there's no team playing here because there's GT that's gifted and talented. And somehow those children, they could be poverty, but they could be also special needs. I mean, special needs is real. It's only means that your child learns differently. And your child could be a visual learner and only process information visually, and meaning that they don't hear it correctly in the classroom. Or, there's just so many ways that human beings learn, but we are human beings. And I have to ask my question, are we human? I mean, are all people considered humans? Because in America, well, you know what? This last COVID says we are a lot of people like human beings, because everybody got that little stimulus money. And even people who didn't think they were going to get stimulus money got stimulus money because they had a social security number. And wasn't that a wonderful thing? And they even gave people some extra food stamps, if you get food stamps, that is. When we moved to Nevada, we were getting more cash aid because I got my social security and I was getting Tyler state disability, basically. But in California, I guess they pay more. So they took $300 away and gave me $14 in food stamps. Wow, I was so excited. Then things happened. But now more things are happening. And we're getting an extra benefit. And I can't believe it. But I'm so happy about it. Because, means that I have what I need. And it's so difficult to see people living out in the element. It concerns me. Because it concerns me that we have established a public education system that gives children 12 years to become citizens. You get 12 years. And during that 12-year process, you're supposed to learn some basic skills. And it's just not all about academics, because some kids never learn to read, but they used to do other things, you know, like home economics, and they used to have all kind of other other things going on. And those things kind of went away. They don't exist anymore. And so if you're connected to a family member who can provide you a training opportunity, or sometimes kids are just gifted. Gifts happen. But let's talk about gifted people. Because they're gifted, because they have a gift, whether it be talented, like, I don't know what's wrong with my camera here, talents for sports, or talents for boxing, or talents for baseball, or talents for football, or talents for singing, or let's just talk about entertainment, because that's where America was. We were the entertainment capital, basically, especially living in Las Vegas, of the world, especially when it comes to, entertainment performance. Because when it came to, building a world-class place where people actually socialize and engage in the public process of socialism, I guess, dancing, or enjoying people who are entertainers. But Black people really didn't have a place to go here in Las Vegas. They didn't have the Moulin Rouge, and I saw this little documentary on the Moulin Rouge and how it burned down at least 3 times. And it had to do with jealousy, and it had to do with people quite unhappy that it was doing so well. I mean, a lot of people don't want to see that happen. But now it's fine because there's no Black clubs that are socialized after 8 o'clock and really nowhere to go. But now, finally, COVID happened, and COVID said, shut it all down. And now it's just me and you and whoever else decides to be boldly out here getting in conversation and determining that the conversation shall be. After my last child graduated from high school, I still was supporting families there in Sacramento. And I have to tell you, at John F. Kennedy High School, the majority of the high school students who were children who looked like me were not at grade level. And for every IEP that I attended, I recorded them. The teachers would come and say how the children were unwilling to do the work. And my question would always be, how could they do the work if they were really only able to comprehend reading level 5th grade? You see, once you get left behind in the district, they don't feel a requirement to help you move forward. And a lot of parents would ask me, but I can't go out and take care of your family and take care of my family too. So whenever I had time, I gladly gave it. But there were times that I just didn't have time. And there were people who just didn't follow through. And believe me, failure is real. What do you do when you have a huge population of children who have been promoted without making any maintenance of effort, any reasonable progress? I remember making a conscious decision as to how I was not going to send my son to summer school because he was on the bus and somebody took his glasses and threw them off the bus. They didn't have adequate supervision. And there were things that were going on, bullying, and I couldn't be there because they would transport him far, far away from where I could have access to him. So we just didn't go to summer school. But we did have extended year of speech and language development and social skills, those social skills programs that came in handy because he has epilepsy, but he's in the spectrum. He's autistic and he's very gifted, and he graduated above proficient. And I can say all of the wonderful resources that he was able to have: speech and language development, social skills, OT, I mean, you name it. He taught himself, and he was taught how to teach himself, how to how to think basically. And he's a thinker. And so, regardless, he still has a disability. That means he's still qualified for disability. And believe me, as my son started to get older and I started to see how the programs work, a lot of kids would have disability and they would be paying the money. And then all of a sudden, when they turned 16, if they weren't suspected to graduate, they just drop them. I mean, or then they get out of school because they didn't graduate high school. Guess what? No more Social Security check. I mean, we worked hard to get a young man. Finally, by the time he was 18, we had him assessed, and he was autistic and intellectually disabled, and qualified for Ultra Regional, and qualified for Social Security, and qualified until he gets some kind of job or some kind of support or something that he can do for himself. Quite frankly, the system works. It's unfortunate that people just accept failure. I don't understand that. People can't tell me. You can't tell me anything because I read and I can go and find the data and I can look at the data and I can see where the data is missing. And, people want to put it on individuals' unfortunes or misfortunes, like they're homeless. Like, this one lady, I was trying to help her get her daughter back in school here. And because when she turned almost 18, they sent her a letter and said she didn't have enough credits and they were going to dismiss her basically because she didn't have enough time in. Well, that probably shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. But it really didn't matter because the mother didn't know how to help her. And the mother was trying to, how do you say it, make an excuse or share with me all the things that she had gone through. But quite frankly, that's why we have all the other services in America. We have social services, we have a housing and redevelopment agency, we have health and human services. We have all these public services that happen to be shut down right now. But they were dysfunctional and they were broken. They were broken too. And, here in Clark County, I've asked lots of questions and I'm not going to go away. I mean, simply, there are children out there that have not been reached out to. And there are principals that are not been held accountable because ultimately that's where the buck stops here in the principal's office because they don't really have community. I mean, it's not really about the board members because the board members have not accepted any responsibility to share data with the community. So how do you know what's going on if you cannot look at the system clearly? I mean, I'm looking at the system. First of all, I want to know how many children are not reading by the grade level 3. And if they're not reading at grade level 3, then what is done at the local school site to try to engage that student before they turn to the 6th grade? Because by the 8th grade, if they're not at grade level, then continuing to promote these kids is criminal because it's just fraud. I mean, what kind of behavior maintenance are you doing? You're not doing crap, nothing. Kids are not learning. And, this was really all about children having access to technology. And some were seen to be off task because they didn't know how to use technology. But then somehow they just didn't have any distance learning programs really established, although they said they had it. I mean, you can go back and find documents that says, oh, yeah, that's going on. But when you ask for data is the real thing. Data, they just don't have it. They just don't have it. And I'm concerned that they want to sit back and and that they're using West Ed. I mean, a portion. I mean, I was a parent who sat at the state of California under the family. It was a family. What is it? Family and community partnerships under West Ed, whatever. But irregardless, we had a little charter thing. We had a little thing that was written, and we would meet up there at the Department of Education, and we participated as members of FAN and the Family Alliance, the Family and Community Alliance. Oh, I can't think about it. I'll probably have to go back and look at my emails. All that I saved. But time just continues to move. And life is all about what you're willing to do and what you're willing to accept. And what you need to understand is that freedom is not free. It has never been free. And the requirement when they gave us freedom in America was citizenship. And you only earn that by participating. And that's how come they fought so hard to keep us from voting. And that's why they kill people. I mean, that's why they kill people. Because they want to continue to maintain the oversight process. And that's why I said when I'm looking at America, I'm looking at the plantation. And for people who are failing to comply, and death is a reasonable option for someone who should have just been following the rules. Oh my God. Seriously? How can you have the right to have free speech and have the right to pursue liberty and justice if you can't even have freedom of expression? And, there's all kind of ways, I step up my game, they step up their game. But I know that they can't out-purchase you because individually, they still have to understand that they have to monitor every human's behavior. And some people just don't know how to behave. I cannot say I'm a compliant person, but I'm not going to get out there and buck the system. But I am going to say that this is the one time in history where we as a people have a personal responsibility to understand that as taxpayers and as we have some of the world's intellectuals who are to be paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. Well, I'd just like to know what is the outcome for the people who got granted the right to have civil rights in 1964? Or, was it 55 years or 60 years? Brown versus the Board of Education. What was that? What was the outcome? How did, and listen, this COVID thing really exposes what were our children going to do when they got out of college anyway? Where's the career path? And where's the conversation as to what is not happening in our local communities? I mean, why is it that everybody else can have a piece of the pie except for us? I tell you, because if there wasn't us, there would be no pie, I guess. No, I mean, I can go live and I know how to go live. I don't know how to get followers, but I do know this. I know that if you don't have your child in an educational program right now, or you cannot see, or you cannot assess, or you cannot determine just what were your child doing in the first place. Can they complete tasks? Because that's what education is. It's task completion. Can they complete the work? Because if they can't do the work, then they're not engaged. And if they're not engaged, then guess what? They're not learning. And if they're not learning, what can you do? Well, I know that there's a Khan Academy out there. I did a little broadcast about that. But there are all kind of resources online. Don't be afraid. And go to ed.gov, type in special education, or type in the State Department of Rehabilitation, or type in, every state has a Department of Education. And look at your Department of Education and look and see what the local school sites say that they're doing. Because they're not doing it. They're not doing it if they can't reach all the children. Don't you understand? I mean, you have to have something in place. And yes, everybody is frustrated by being locked down. But if you know what you know, then you know what you know. And if children are learning and being successful, and you can measure that and you can document that, then that's what we all should have been. But we weren't there. And we have to admit that for our people, so many kids, so many are not making it. And how do you have juvenile halls with 80% of children who look like me? I mean, what was going wrong there? I mean, what were they actually doing? Were they just maintaining what the outcomes were? I mean, when you start collecting data about just behavior and you don't have any data to demonstrate what you tried to do, or what was working or what's not working, then it's a problem because nothing's working because everybody was just getting a damn paycheck. I have to be nice on here. And the whole thing is that we do have to talk with each other. We have to reach out to each other. We have to know that reality says that if what is that? That it's all of us or none of us. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in wartime, it was really real because if you had somebody white that had your back, you really wanted them to have your back. Or if somebody white wanted you to have their back, they really wanted you to have their back. I mean, they wanted to live just like you wanted to live. So everybody had the same thing on the line. What do we have online to offer right now? It's just like Trump said, what do we have to lose? Well, we had a lot to lose, but we didn't realize we had so much to lose. Now we can see how this virus is affecting our local community people. And we can see that we had more to lose than everybody, and we're losing it. So in order not to lose so much, well, you must wake up. And in waking up, well, it's not going to happen all in one day. But you do have to ensure that your children are not the harvest anymore. And we have to end the harvest for America in regards to zero accountability. And people going to vacations for the summer to the Alps or to Spain or to China and be school teachers, but then the school that they work at are not performing the duties that they need to. I mean, come on now. Ain't nothing free in life. Nothing is free because everything comes with consequences. And this is our consequence, COVID. It happened because there were consequences to behaviors. Can't pretend things just don't need to be taken care of. Just like, we can't pretend those people living on the street have everything they need or have access to it or even have the ability to attain it. Because quite frankly, the real deal is that there are all kinds of resources, but they are not available to them because they can't read. And if you can't read, you can't. I mean, if you don't know how to get on technology, well, then, it's just real. And so, I needed to talk about this, and I'm going to come back and talk about it because somehow our people are terrified of special education. But guess what? Those waivers didn't go in. So the states are still required to provide services for those children with disabilities because Nevada did not apply for the waiver. And so therefore, the services really have to be real, and they have to document those foundation and supports that they're providing for all children. So we have the right to have some of that data, and I'm looking for it. And I'm going to keep on talking about looking for the data until I get a response about, I will see it. When the data is real, you can see it because you understand the outcomes of the community. You can have young, energetic, intelligent people working in goodwill and that be their first job because they don't have any basic level skills. Come on now, help me with that. Life is real and there are real consequences to negligence. So we need more oversight of federal and state dollars to ensure that we have the outcomes. And as for what is happening here in regards to the CEOs organizing the weighted formula for Title I children, or children who qualify for that money, or the children who are generating those dollars. Well, that's fine, but they need to tell me how they're going to ensure that access is happening for those children who are generating the money. I just need to know that. So until I get a response from somebody, I'm going to keep on coming and talking about that. Hopefully, I will educate more people that they will understand that if you are targeted for targeted support in a school-wide program, then the targeted support has to make a difference. I mean, people have to measure the maintenance of effort when you're using federal dollars. It's because the federal money is just not free, and neither is the state money. Actually, when we start talking about who's really paying all of those taxes, we need to look at rap artists who pay over $100,000 in taxes because Uncle Sam's always going to get his part. And when he's getting his part, I want to make sure that we get our part. So this is Darlene Anderson, call me DA. And, I am concerned about children who who look like me, who come from the historic past, who we don't know who we're connected to ever, and that, because of the ills of America, our family structure has been basically dissolved. And I don't care, there are a lot of single family parents out here and a lot of African American males who just don't claim their children because of the burdensome aspect of child support. But the child support system really just needs to change. As long as a man is willing to take care of his family, then he should have the support to do so. And it shouldn't be that he has to get a punishment to take care. And it just causes so much negativity in America. We could do it so much better. We could do it to where it benefited families, and then it wouldn't be so ugly. But right now, it's just an ugly situation. But there are a lot of ugly situations in America right now. And so, as long as they keep on trying to open up these critical necessities, who are killing, this is causing people to die. I don't want to die, so I'm not getting out there. Personal protection equipment when I'm sitting in my backyard and there's nobody back here but me. That's social distancing, and that's what you need to practice. So until I get on and stream again, I might do it again later on today. But I'm going to end this and make sure that I share it everywhere. So have a great day.